Well, the Chargers didn't get a single point in their game. While the Knights scored, they scored very little. And they got to play the Panthers next week. This week. In the playoffs. This is Sports Hour. What's going on? Thomas here. Welcome to probably the third to last Sports Hour episode. Here. Let's see if I can find the right one here. And apparently, no, I can't. Give me a second here to get this up. Apparently it's more difficult to get these things up than normal. Here we go. It's a little more difficult because I'm going to keep my webcam off for the things. I just have it out for a second here so you guys know I'm here. This is a pretty difficult thing to talk about. Because last week we got to our further final games, and these are the actual predictions for this one, and these will be available as well through the mount. Yes. But it comes down to who won in which games and who is going to be the answer. Here is the current position for who it is. Panthers 16-0. They didn't getting the entire streak over 16-0, 145, 180, 181 point. I'm really bad. 180. 1,845 points, getting the first-ranked offense and the third-ranked defense. They are the number one. They're number one seed. They're 16-0. Pretty powerful team to start off here. While the Second team was the Foxes. The Foxes got 14-2 with 1,557 points. They're about 37 points per game. They end up being third in the entire league. Pirates end up getting the third position with a 12-4, 1,398 points, almost hitting 1,400 points with an 87-point average. And the Bulldogs sneaked in with an 8-8 record, and it would be they get it 1,415 points, being 11th in both sides, being 5th overall. This is for the NBL playoffs. We'll talk about the playoffs more a little bit here. Now here we go. Leland Cats game got first, losing only to the Panthers in the entire amount here. Going 15-1, 1,531 points, getting about 95 points per game. The Lynx got the third position. They went 11-5 with 1,577 points, 98 points per game. The Stars got the second position, 14-2 with 1,483 points, third position, third overall. Bobcats got in with the 11-5 with the 1,381 points. The other teams that got in, I'm not going to go with the actual points for these winnings. The Otters are in with 11-5 record. Warriors got in. The Supermen got in. Supermen, and the Techs got in. These are positions for all of those teams. Now, this is going to be very interesting for these positions here. Now, last week, as for the final answer, I didn't actually add these, so we can go ahead and add these real quickly here. I forgot I didn't add them. So the final is 213 and A7. So my final record was a little over 91%. For Lily's final record, Lily got 10 this week, 193 and 107. So doing slightly better than it's getting 64% about there. With John gained 12 points, 185. 8, so 117. Gained 61.3. Runner gained 13 points. Let's see. Runner got 7, so that's going to be another 123, putting it 59.59. Puppy got I don't know why I'm having the minimum. It's the count I'm looking for. Not the count, the sum 280, yeah, so we have one more. This Poppy got in the end 14 points, putting it 196. Going 104 in the end. Dog finished up here with 12 points, going 190 and getting 110. So after, I have 2 points more. 2 points more. This 184,116. So after all that, and I ended up being first place with a pretty healthy margin in the NDAs. Now, if you guys want to do this next year, you guys can do this. I might not even have these people do the predictions. We'll do predictions for the game, but they won't have the actual hints. But it was an interesting week for all of the games. And these are the actual positions for the teams. If you want to see any of the actual records for this, records for the actual what they did for each of the games, they're right here. They're right here, so you guys can look at those. And then divisionally, those are the playoffs as well. I'm not gonna have the record, the aids, and the actual order, but they go like this, and then they go like this. That is the order of teams for who gets the draft picks. So the lowest was the Chargers, then it goes to the Falcons, then the Cardinals, then back to here, in order of the record. Now, this is not over though. Now we get to the real fun portion, which is the playoffs. And the playoffs is a huge position here. These are the actual games. Now, these are best of 5, which is ridiculous here. Now, I'm going to do what I think with the predictions for it. Starting off, we have the Panthers in. They're playing at 12 o'clock on 3 days from now. It's a pretty interesting game. Now, I'm going to talk about what I think about these. The Panthers did really well in these games. They have one of the highest scoring. They had the highest scoring offense and nearly the highest scoring defense. They got beaten by only a few teams here. And it's Pirates, and I believe it's the I don't know what the other team is, but there's another team here. Yeah, the Supermen. The only two teams that beat them in point-wise. Versus the Knights, they 15th offense, 8th in defense. Pretty interesting battle here for the units. Problem is, these guys played already twice this season. If we go back to the NBL North, you can see the Panthers first game was pretty close. And that was when they were at the Knights. That didn't really matter because they played the same stadium both times. Then they got demolished in the second game. The Knights got demolished in the second game. The Knights have had a hard time against the Panthers prior to this. Yes. In fact, if you look at the pretty good record here, the Panthers do have a very high win rate against the Knights. So, in my opinion, here, this should be a very interesting matchup. I am going to predict for this matchup here, and my predictions are going to be here, that it's going to be 3-1, which is honestly probably not very accurate because the Panthers, by the way, have only lost one game in the playoffs ever. It's not going to be a very interesting matchup here. So, in the context here, this is going to be a very interesting game. Panthers and Knights. I honestly feel like we're going to go for at least they're going to win like game 2, and then they're going to lose the next 2 games. This is what I'm having to say about this is I do not know whether the Panthers are going to have a 3-1 record or not. I do think the Panthers are going to make it at least to the divisional round. Well, it depends on who they play. Will depend on plans. The next game is the Foxes and the Legends. The Foxes and Legends will play. First game will be played at 12 o'clock. All the games will occur at the same time. They just occur at 4 different stadiums. Foxes and Legends is a tough one. honestly, it is going to be very interesting to see how the Foxes and Legends games actually work. Foxes did not play the Legends during the season. Because I'm going to make sure they didn't. The Foxes and Legends did not play during the season. So this is their first outcome. The first time they will have played in the season. And honestly, this could be a very, very tough matchup. Foxes, I think, are going to be slightly better in the context. Foxes are currently 14th and 15th, so they are third overall. They have a slightly worse offense than the Legends, slightly worse defense than the Legends do, but their offense is going to make up for that. They're going to be very high in a very good position. They're 14th and 6th versus the Lions are 13th and 7th. This would be a very defensive battle between these two teams. And honestly, in my opinion, this is going to be a really, really tough one. Just looking at these things, I think this is going to be This is going to go to Game 5. I think. I'm going to say the Dogs do win in the end, but I think it's going to be 3-2. It's going to be a very close game. And honestly, I'm going to say for the Panthers ninth game, I'm going to go back to that one. I think it could easily be 3-0. This is the first time it's ever happened. And by the way, the games do occur 5 days straight. So, is that right? Did they go 5 days straight? Okay, I'm not completely right about that. They do have. I'm not completely right about that. They do get a little bit of a break. They get a. Nope, that's wrong. I was checking it out. So, they do play every day for 5 days. Now, they do play in a longer time period. So, they do have a 12 o'clock, then they have a 4 o'clock, then they got 12 o'clock. And they may never play the final 2 games. They got plenty of time to rest for these games, and I think it's going to be interesting for that. Moving on to the Pirates and Hawks game. Oh, goodness. Yeah, this is a tough one. With the Hawks, you can see the Hawks and Pirates did not play during the season, which could mean quite a bit. If you look at the divisional records, the Pirates did get first in defense and 16th in offense, versus the other, which is the Hawks, who didn't do well in either. Did okay in the offense, did do great in defense, and this is going to be a very hard battle for them, just for that regrets. I feel like the Pirates are going to have a really good time and just be able to win the games off of this. And I don't think this game is going very far. But the Hawks are a tough team. And that's what's actually kills me from this. The Hawks are very good teams. Very good team. If we look at their scoreline, the Hawks do have an average of 92 points per game. Pirates only have 87. So it's going to be a very tough game for these two teams. I feel like the Hawks are going to be able to take out them in the rounds. I do think it's going to take to at least game 4. I think the game is going to go 2-2, and I'm going to go with the Hawks winning this. But it could easily be either one of these teams. Bulldogs and Ravens. The Bulldogs barely sneaked in with the playoffs. Looking at the divisional here, they snuck in, basically. They have an 88 points versus the Ravens, who only have 9 points. This is a pretty evenly matched games. The difference is offensive is 10th. Defensively is 12th. Bulldogs are 11th at both positions. So both these teams have very similar positions. Divisionally, let's look at the NBL East here because that's the one that's easy for me to do. The Ravens just played them. Believe it or not, the Bulldogs and Ravens just played. The Bulldogs lost, but only lost by 4. So this is actually going to be a very tough matchup. I could easily see this going back and forth all game long. I am going to say this game is going to be surprising at the end. I am going to say that it will be the Bulldogs that will take it, but not until Game 5. I'm going to go with it being 3-2 being in position. I know these are actually pretty close games, and it should not be that close. Ravens are significantly better in amount of scoring on points during the game, but I think they're pretty well lined up. This is going to be an interesting matchup. I want to say this goes to Game 5 at least. Here it is. Then we go to the ABL. The ABL. Boy. They got the Leland and the Supermen. These teams are number 1 and number 2 in defense. Am I correct about that? I hope I'm correct about that because otherwise I'm sounding kind of dumb. Yeah, the Supermen, the Leland Cats are 2nd in offense. The Supermen are 9th in offense, but they're 2nd in defense, and the Leland Cats are 10th in defense. These guys are actually have very similar records. The Supermen are 1st overall. Leland Cats are 2nd overall. This is going to be a tough battle between these teams, and I could say this could easily go either way. However, the Leland Cats are good about winning games at the end. And unfortunately, I do not think the Supermen are quite enough to be able to keep this stand. I'm going to say they go to Game 4, but I'm going to go with the Leland Cats winning this game 3-1. Winning these games 3-1. All right, now we move to the Stars and the Warriors. Stars and Warriors, same division. I'm bad at that. They're not in the same division. Warriors being 10-6, getting only 89 points per game. Stars getting 92 points per game. Looking at the Warriors are 5th. Stars are 6th. Warriors are terrible in offense. And the Stars are okay in offense. Yeah, so this is going to be a very, very tough game. They did, however, I think, play earlier in this season. And I wanted to verify that. The Stars did play. They played in week 1, though. The Supermen won that game, by the way. So, yeah. Are they? I'm confused now because they seem to be in the same division. They don't look like they weren't in the. I didn't think they were in the same division, but they appear to be in the same division. Are they? No, Stars and Westville in the same division. They did play. I will say that they did play. They're not in the same division. They did play in the season, but they are not in the same division. Stars and Supermen. No, wait. Now I'm looking at the wrong one. Stars and Warriors are what I'm looking at. The Stars and the Warriors are the ones we're looking at. This is going to be a very, very tough game. This could be an either way game. And now that we go through this correctly, I think this is going to be an absolute blowout. The Warriors are just not in the position, especially with several injuries on their team right now. They're not playing the best stadium, in my opinion. Stars. Did the Stars play the Supermen? What I'm looking at. Not the Supermen, the Warriors. No, they did not. So this is actually going to be an interesting matchup for these two teams because of that very reason. It's going to be a tough one for me to come up with these ones to be it. I think the Stars will win this game in the end. I think it's going to take them to Game 5 to do it. I'm going to go with a 3-2. And honestly, I really don't want it to be Game 5, but I think it's going to be Game 5. I think the Stars will take it in the end. We have the Lynx and Otters. These are in the same division. I am correct about that one, I know. Lynx and Otters are in the same division. Goodness. You have the 6th versus the 2nd. Really? They shouldn't be playing it like that, right? There's the Warriors. I don't think I have this correct. Hold on. Otters. Did I mess something up here? Because that doesn't seem right to me. Lynx should be. No, I got something wrong here. Lynx should. Oh, the Lynx should be playing the Otters. Okay, never mind. I was right about that. And then the Warriors playing the Stars. Okay. Sorry, I confused myself for a second there. Lynx and Otters are in the same division, and both are very tough. They've played twice this season. What does those games mean? Would be the good question to ask here, because yes, Lynx and the Otters. Let me just see who we got the Lynx. Lynx and the Otters played twice. It was 1-1, and by the way, it was actually inversed. So the Lynx won. So Lynx lost the first one, but won the second one. So, yes. And both games are actually pretty confidently scored. I think the second game was a little better. In my opinion, this is going to be a very, very tough game to call. And I will say, I do think the Lynx are going to have a really hard time taking this. I'm going with a 3-2. I think the Lynx will win this one, but it's going to take them to Game 5 to do it. Finally, the Bobcats and the Techs. They are also in the same division. Correct? But yeah, they're in the same division. They're playing each other. But why they're playing each other? Well, they're right next to each other. They're 4th and 5th. Goodness, they are so evenly matched. They have very similar offenses, very similar defensive. It is so tough. The only difference is their points-wise make the Bobcats better. And honestly, it comes down to quite a bit of questioning because the Techs and Bobcats have played, I believe they've played 3 times actually. Yeah, they've played 3 times. Techs, the Bobcats won the first one, they lost the second one, so it's 1-1, and then they won the third one. So they're 2-1 against that. So I could just read this one because 2-1 is actually what they have. But it is tough. If you look at the Techs, the games, the first one was about 20 points difference. Second one was about 20 points difference. So they're both even there. And the third one was about 30 points difference. So this is actually going to be a very tough game to go with. And honestly, I could easily see this one going to Game 5 without any question. I think the Bobcats have what it takes to win this, but I think it's going to take Game 5 again. I'm going to go 3-2 against the Bobcats. And honestly, this could be Now, of these teams, if I predict these correctly, the Panthers will play the Panthers' first seed. Will play against a team I think which is going to, if I get this correct, which I may be right about this at all, Panthers, who are the first seed, will end up playing team in the best position. So it would actually, I've actually made it a little different. Panthers would play the Hawks in this week. And after that, I would say the Panthers will win that game. We'll worry about that when we get to it. The Foxes would play the Bulldogs. But we're going to worry about that all when we get to it. These games are going to be interesting to go for it. I have most of them going 3-2. The only game I think is not going to quite go. It's going to go to game. Is going to get to game. Only game 4 is the Leland and Supermen game because they're very similar. They're very good, very similar records. And Panthers in the ninth game, I could question that. I think it easily could go just to game 3, not to game 4. But it really comes how the Knights. Yes. So what do you guys think of the predictions here? If you guys want to see the final nets, they're all right here. You guys can see this. I have it shared correctly. It's not showing up, but oh, there it is. Anyway, so as long as you have a link to this, you guys can see this, and I have the links posted at the end of for each of these things. This could be it. You guys can only see it by viewing it, but you guys can take your own. You guys can make your own predictions down in the comments down below. I think this is going to be an interesting week, interesting playoffs. Let's go to the second part of this, which is not relevant to this anymore. I don't need to see that. Thank you. Please hide that. Is a tournament of 32, which is the decision to make to teams that make the Bowl, to make the World Series. Now, not all these are decided currently because the way it works is that these games will all occur after the Ball Bowl is over. So you guys won't see this happening until the Ball Bowl is over. But currently, these are the positions and exactly the way they're going to work out. If you guys want to see the athletes, they're on the, as you saw, those positions are the rankings, and that is how I decide how they are determined. Panthers are first. You get the point. It goes, and just for you guys to understand, it's first, 16th, second, 15th, third, 14th, fourth, 13th. It's the same as the March Madness bracket. The same similar ideas for those. What will happen is once the playoffs is over, once the bubble is over, which will be not until mid next week, these games will occur. And these will be also interesting. They will all be single games, though not best of 5 as the regular playoffs ago. That will be it. Now these are going to be with the positions. So if you see this here, this is going to be the positions down here. So Cardinals and Cardinals are down here. We'll be playing for that position right there. Good grief, why are they playing? Dogs and Cardinals are playing for the 16th position, which means they're playing the Panthers. Whoever wins that game plays the Panthers. Okay, this is going to be interesting. That is for the World Series. I'll talk about that in the very last video if I even show you anything for it. The World Series is happening currently in, I believe it is, China this year. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to keep your game on. I'll see you next video.